Hello everybody, this is Rudra Pradhan here. Welcome to Business Analytics for Management Decision, and we are still in second unit, and the topic of this discussion is exploring data and analytics on spreadsheet. So, we have already discussed couple of lectures on this unit, and the basic idea about this particular structure is to understand the data, then to know more details about the kind of data by a visualization process, and a little bit basics from the data structures. So, the idea is that once you identify a particular problem and before you start the investigations. So, one of the particular requirement is the data, which we have already highlighted in many different ways. So, here the particular structure is just enter the data in the Excel sheet, then you try to extract or get some kind of insights, and that insights may help you lot to understand the problems or to get some kind of inference to solve the problems. In other way, you can also in a position to use the particular data for particular techniques. So, the idea is that just enter the data in the Excel sheet and try to get some kind of insights. So, the insights may be in a quantitative angles or it may be in a kind of qualitative angles by using some kind of graphical visualization process. So, in this lecture typically we like to understand the data in more attractive way by using some kind of graphical structures or data graphical data visualization process. So, the topic of discussion is today's is data visualizations, and that too through some kind of graphs. So, it is a kind of against understanding of the data, and the idea is that sometimes when you enter the data. So, particularly when you have a big data set. So, it is very difficult to understand the particular structure of a particular variables or particular problem. So, entering data to get some kind of basics. So, that is one part of the story, but the other part of the story is you should know one end to another end how it how the data is all about. So, what is the kind of flow, what kind of structure. So, the requirement is that of course, it will give you more insights by knowing the outliers problems, the kind of difference or the kind of maximum, the kind of minimum. So, that means of course, in the Excel sheet which we have already discussed earlier. So, having data you can actually try to get what is the maximum number, minimum number, average, sum, all these things you can count with a kind of if and by using if functions something like that, but still. So, it will be actually a specific kind of requirement, but when you use this data and you do some kind of plotting, and then that actually the idea is here the graphical inspections. So, the by doing the kind of plotting. So, it will give you much more insights than what we have already discussed in a quantitative format, right. So, it will give you some kind of snapshots from one end to another end. So, and that itself will give you some kind of basic setups through which you can pick up a particular technique and then solve for this particular business problem. So, this will give you clear cut idea what is the kind of structures of this data with respect to a particular variables. So, now let me little bit give you hint about here the idea. So, you can do visualization and then some automation process, customizations, and then integration. These are the 4 different items we can actually target in the kind of graphical representations or data visualization process by graphs. So, basically, so we have a couple of graphs, or we can call as chart. So, various graphs and charts are there, and you can use actually one after another to know more about the particular means insights. And you have the data, but when you plot in a different way or different structure shapes, then it will get it, or you will get more insight on this particular setup. So that is the beauty of this kind of graph structures. So in the requirement in the chart or graph is just to check the range, and then the kind of as usual graphical process, you have to see the x axis the structures and y axis structure. Then accordingly after doing the kind of requirement, automatically it will give you some kind of better visualizations, and that too you can understand the data more attractive way, and you can also easily get some kind of better insights what we have not done in the kind of quantitative framework. Okay. So, the charts you may have actually you can fix the upper bound and lower bounds, you can do the labeling. So, all these things will be there in the particular process. So, so let me give you some kind of examples, what are the types of examples in the kind of data visualization in the graphic mode, and then you can use a particular graphic modes, and then to get more kind of insights. So, actually like we have a plenty of analytics tools. So, here in the graphical visualization process you have plenty of graphs, and same data can be plotted or by using different graphs, and the whole idea is exactly every time to know the exact structure of the data, or to get some kind of insights. So, ultimately you have to understand the data very perfectly. So, if you understand the data perfectly and you know the plus minus in the data, then you may be in a process to use the data as per a particular requirements. Sometimes some data may not be in a good structures, but after knowing the particular visualization process, so then you can try to bring more structured data, or do some kind of transformations, do some kind of manipulations by using some kind of function or something like that. Then so that the data can be in a proper format or in a proper structure, and then you can use the particular data for the further analysis and as per your requirement. Until unless you do the data processing properly, so this will not give you better results as per your particular requirement. And so far as a graphical inspection is concerned, we have a plenty of options, starting with bar diagrams, line charts, then pie diagrams, and then scatter plotting, area graphs, surface graphs, radar graphs. So, so many varieties are there. Same data can be actually visualized through column diagrams or bar diagrams, line diagrams, then pie charts, then scatter scatter plotting, then area plottings, surface plotting, and radar plotting. So, I will just briefing you every case, then I will take you a particular examples and connect you how the same data set can be plotted differently, and you will get some kind of better insights compared to the previous discussions through a particular tools, right. Here in the first column column chart, this is the classic example of column charts, and here. So, obviously actually you must have some kind of on data with respect to some either in a time framework or in the kind of cross sectional framework. Then so that means you must have x axis indication, then y axis indications. Then automatically if you actually connect, then automatically it will give you some kind of plotting. For instance, in this case, so this plotting will give you actually, so there are actually how I see here, just let me give you some highlights here, and we have actually 5 different components, and that will be indicated with different colors. So, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this is for a particular year, say 2008, again. So, the same for 5 category in 2009, then 2010, 2011, 2012. So, that means actually it gives clear cut indications what is happening actually. Let us say classics, right. So, the classics, the trends of classics 2008, then 2009, then 2010, then 2011, then 2012. Similarly, in the case of romance, let us say this is actually this third case. So, what is the trend here in 2008 to then 2009, then again 2010, then 2011, then 2012. So, that means actually see here. So, it clearly gives better insights to know actually at a particular point of time how these items are varying with respect to different different points of time. So, this is actually one of the kind of beauty of graphical inspection, and that too through Excel sheet, right. So, similarly, we have actually other kind of diagrams or charts. So, this is a kind of line charts, and the classic example is here again. So, we have actually time series data, monthly time series data, and then we like to actually plotting some kind of financial figures. So, you see here. So, that means against time. So, you have actually informations, and then again you just give the command, and automatically it will give you some kind of structure with respect to that particular variables. So, so here, so we can actually just get to know the trend of this particular series, and whether it is a kind of increasing kind of situation, decreasing kind of a situation, whether it is a kind of linear movement or non-linear movement. So many things we can actually easily predict from this particular inspections. So, likewise, there is another kind of types called as a pie diagrams, and this here actually 5 different divisions. So, this will give you better indications how it what is the kind of percentage contributions one particular range to another particular range. And in fact, it is a kind, it is all these are examples of univariate structure, and means it is the this is a kind of single variables, and the variation is happening with respect to different ranges, right. And how is this particular weightage with respect to different range. So, this pie diagram can help you lot to understand the particular structure. This clearly visualize something that and by default you will get some kind of insights out of this particular structure. So, you see here just see here. So, the kind of differentiations. So, that means automatically it gives kind of comparative analysis, and if you go by see numerically you can also calculate and report, but here in a one particular structures it will reflect everything in details. So, that is actually the beauty of this graphical inspections, right. So, likewise you can also have another kind of chart, that is called as a area chart, and here same things actually. So, you need to have a x indications and y indications, and then you just see how is this kind of movement. Okay. So, this is actually again on the basis of intervals, and it will give you some kind of differentiations with respect to different intervals, like previous examples pie diagrams. This is also similar kind of situation, and here you see here. So, the kind of structures means okay, all right. So, see here. So, the kind of examples, that is something going wrong here. Okay. Bar diagram. Okay. So, we are actually here, and I am just highlighting something to just specifying that this by default you can find out some kind of difference among these particular groups. So, the difference can be reported in a quantitative way by calculating the mean of the particular structure or range of this particular structure, but still So, the graphical plotting will give you much more or you can say that better insights than the quantitative visualizations. Okay. So, this is another kind of chart, and that too just some kind of scattered plotting, and here again month wise kind of informations, and the game between age and height, and you see that the plotting behavior here. So, see here, even if you can join these points, you can join these points, you will get some kind of line diagram also. Okay. So, this can be also give some kind of movement. Okay, it is a increasing kind of trend, but it gives some kind of better visualizations, which you can actually have from this with the help of some kind of quantitative tools. Okay. So, like this, then you can have actually similarly again another kind of bar chart. So, previously it was vertical kind of visualization, now it is a horizontal kind of visualization. It is the same things, but it will actually look in a different way altogether, the same way, but you are just changing the angles and seeing how is this particular data structure with respect to these variations. So, the same example classics, ST, Romans, all these things, but it's give you some kind of better insights as per the particular requirement. And this is another kind of charts called as surface chart, and again this will give you some kind of visualization how it is actually happening over the or different kind of situations. Okay. So, means over the time how it is actually changing actually shape, okay, altogether. So, this is another kind of visualizations, and similarly, so Pareto chart, and this gives another kind of indications to see how these particular figures are changing over the time, and in fact you can actually see the visualization in a kind of absolute scale, and also you can actually see the change structures that is actually in a relative scale, and that is actually again one of the beauty of this graphical visualization process. And this is another kind of plotting, and this is called as a candlestick, and this gives again some kind of indication how is the movement of variables over different or different point of times. Okay. So, you can also same line diagram or line plotting you can do, but still this gives some kind of better kind of visualization process. But so the thing is that we just like to know what are the ways you can actually try to understand or try to visualize the data in a more attractive way. So, we have a couple of kind of instances or couple of options, and you can use any of such options, so that you can try to understand the data and you get some kind of insights, and on the basis of these insights and understanding data you can predict certain things, or you can use in a much better way to solve the problems. Okay. So, this is another kind of chart called as radar chart, and again this gives some kind of insights to understand the happenings subject to different kind of attributes. So, the idea is that all these plottings have a different kind of structures, and but ultimately the objective is just to know the know the kind of happenings, you means try to understand the data properly, and get some kind of insights, and try to find out any kind of obstacles in the data, like getting there may be chance that there will be outlier or something like huge variations or different functional forms. So these are all some of the kind of requirements for further kind of investigations, so far as advanced analytics tools are concerned. Okay. So this is another kind of chart which you can actually also help to do some kind of visualization process. And okay, so before that so what I will do, so what I have done already. So the whole idea is exactly here to know the know the data structures and understand the data, get some kind of insights, and that is how we have actually gone through so many visualizations tools. That means basically various charts are in the Excel sheet, and just to have better understanding of the data and to get some kind of insights, something negative or positive kind of things. Positive in the sense data is already in structure, and negative means some data has a some kind of problems, like huge variations, having outliers, or the range is very high, something like that. Okay. So this itself will give you some kind of better inference for further kind of investigation. In order to understand the kind of exact happening, then let me come to a particular examples, and then I will highlight the particular structures. Okay. So here, so whatever graphs we have already discussed, and then so I will come to here the particular visualization process. So here, so let us say yearly information is there, and this is a production data which we have already highlighted, and with the help of this production data, you can find out here anything you like to target, you can find out. For instance, put equal to, you find out to maximum, you can find out to minimum. So see, you will find maximum of the series, you can also find out to minimum of the series, you can find for instance, you put here, so it is not coming. So put here minimum of the series. So minimum of the series. Okay. Minimum of the series. Okay. This is, so just fix the range and close the loop, and this will give you some kind of so that means these are all actually absolute kind of understanding, but by default here in the graphical plotting, it will give you much better insights. For instance, with this particular figures, you can have some kind of description or basic statistics to understand this particular data or to understand this particular variables. But the idea of this particular lectures or this graphical visualization is to get more insights in this spreadsheet or data set, and that too this production data set with respect to times, that is from 1991 to 2000. So now, so whatever plottings we have already discussed, this same plottings can be visualized here on the basis of this particular data. So go to this particular structure and click here insert. You will find plenty of data structure is there. Just you click here, and then you will find plenty of structure here. So you just little bit make it big, so that you can look into this particular process. Okay. So this is what actually the particular box, and give the option of all charts. Okay. So whatever charts we have already discussed, and then the same data can be visualized with the help of all these possible options, right. So for instance, you put line kind of options, then you can try to know how the production behaves over the times, right. So this is a kind of classic example of line chart, and this is another angle of production behavior with respect to different point of time. Then again, and you can transfer into the column representation. See here. So again, yearly kind of indications and the production movement. So this is give you some kind of better insights. Again, you go to the pie. So pie diagram. So that means it will give you yearly breakup, actually which year is high, which year is low. Then you can compare the variations with respect to different point of time, right. So, this is another look the same data set, then again you can have a bar kind of chart, then you can get to know the insights again. So, this is another kind of look. Okay. Similarly, the same data you can put in a kind of area format, and how it is actually moving from one point of time to another point of times. Then again you can go for scatter plottings. So, this movement this is actually again giving you the some kind of understanding about the data visualization process, and to know how the production behaves over the times. Okay. So, then again this is another kind of movement, and anyways okay. So, this is again kind of surface chart. So, this will give you again some kind of early variations with respect to production behaviors, right. So, then same things it can be having radar representations. So, again it will be early year wise variations over the time, and that to how to showing the particular structure. So, that means again another kind of structure here, how the production is behaving over different point of time. So, that means actually the same data, but we are actually representing differently. So, this is another kind of movement, and just checking the trend with the indication that how this trend is moving over the time. Okay. So, this is another look, this is another look. So, likewise there are many different options are there in the Excel sheet, and just to know actually or just to know what is happening with this data over the time or over the cross sectional unit. So, that means technically any kind of data visualization process. So, you must have a data with respect to variables, and then you must have some kind of entity, whether time series entity or cross sectional entity. So, that means obviously data cannot data will be meaningless until unless you specify whether it is actually with respect to time or with respect to any kind of cross sectional unit. So, the cross sectional unit may be individual, may be organization, may be institute, may be anything like so similar kind of structure, and similarly similar it can be reported with respect to time. It may be annually, it may be monthly, it may be weekly, it may be day wise, it may be hour wise, but some kind of structure is required actually. So, when you are reporting data with respect to variables, then so you must be very careful, or you must specify that what exactly is this particular data, whether it is with respect to any cross sectional unit with a different point of time, or with respect to time with a different cross sectional unit. So, until unless you clear about all these things, then you are not in a position to visualize properly, and you are not in a position to understand the data, and you are not in a position to get any kind of insights. So, in order to get better understanding, better insights, or better kind of use. So, it is better to have the data in a kind of structured format. So, that means the simple structure is like that you must have the data, that is the information corresponding to a particular variables, or corresponding to few variables with respect to particular structures, maybe time series structure, cross sectional structures, or pool structures. So, but actually pool and panel is the advanced kind of understanding, but in this particular stage, so far as data visualization is concerned, that is a quantity visualization or graphical visualization. So, here the idea is every data must have a kind of link with cross sectional unit and time series unit. So, here idea is actually you like to check actually how is this kind of variation altogether with respect to different point of time, and that too for a particular cross sectional unit or few cross sectional units, or else with a particular cross sectional unit how this particular variables behaves, particular variable behaves with respect to different point of time. So, in order to know much better insights about this particular data, and that too for this particular variables. So, you have a several kind of plotting options, or several kind of quantitative strategy, that means by using maximum, minimum, sum, average, counting, kind of any kind of logic. Okay, so the idea is, you try to extract the data or get maximum insights by using any kind of functions, right. So that is how the beauty of Excel functions. So if you are very familiar with Excel function in all angles, so then you can understand the data a very effective way, and sometimes you can actually transfer the data, or in some kind of further structuring you can do with the help of Excel functions or something like that, and then you transfer the data in a kind of structure where it will be give you better insights and better kind of processing as per your particular requirement. But all these plottings we are doing here with respect to the original data, but once you understand the data at the original levels, or these are all original level, or we can say that it's a kind of actual data, right. But when you actually use this data for any kind of investigation by using any kind of analytics, so that times the data may be in a different kind of structures. Okay. So, you may use actually transport data or some kind of process data, right. I means means what I can say that the structure and processing data is not a kind of constant kind of thing. There are many different ways you can process the data, or many different transformation you can apply, and ultimately we need all these transformation and processing, so that it will be well connected with a particular technique and well connect with a particular modeling, so that we can predict the particular environment, or you can get the better insights as per a particular requirement to take some kind of management decisions. This is what actually the kind of structure. And then so the items which we have discussed today is actually the data, the various tables and charts and layouts, graphs, and the whole idea is to just to understand the data and to get some kind of insights as per the availability and as per the requirement. And in the next lectures we will discuss something actually quantitative kind of structure in more in depth little bit about the data understanding and the kind of requirement. With this we will stop here, and thank you very much. Have a nice time.